Navnath, and welcome to the second video of the series that is Salesforce Business Analysis. In the last video or in the last interview, we spoke around three categories. And for the viewers, if you haven't watched the video, I would suggest that first go and have a look at that, wherein we are discussing the interview questions, and it's an interview around those three categories, as mentioned in the previous video. And in this one, we are going to talk about or maybe conduct an interview around the three categories, that is communication and stakeholder management, agile and project delivery, and scenario-based questions. Okay. So, Navnad, are we good to get started?
Yes, sure.
Okay, cool. So continuing, the first question that I'm going to ask you from the category of agile and project delivery is, how has been your experience working in agile and scrum environments? Just walk us through how has been your experience, what have you learned, what are the learnings, what are the shortcomings, everything.
Sure. Like talking about my so for like from last 4 years, I have been into the with I have been into the projects which are mostly mostly following the agile methodologies, and like if I talk about my day-to-day activities and everything, like mostly we have the we are following the Scrum ceremonies, like we have the daily stand-up call, and into that we discuss about the whole, like whatever the requirements that we had, and what are those things that we have worked upon, like that, and what are the major blockers we have. So like that, into that meetings we work upon. And mostly about, if I talk about the agile, when I say about agile, like it is basically like you are into like the continuous, like you are getting a continuous feedback from your customers as well. So I can say it is very good part, where I can see that if there is anything like if there is anything, if customer sees that this is not the correct part or correct requirement, then he can directly give us a feedback, and based on that we can have some discussion over this with the technical team and everyone, and then we can work upon that as well. So that is the part which I like about the it, about agile projects. And also, if I say like, given this is having one advantage, and this is having one I can say a disadvantage or a challenge, maybe
Mhm.
correct word to say, where when this type of situation comes, like customer is like he is giving continuously changes or something like that, into that scenario there will be some kind of the project's timelines sometimes get stretched, because already if you have developed something and client comes into and says that this change needs to this modification, but if that change has some dependencies, right, then it will take some time to go back and start the process whole again. So yeah, it's like mix of everything, but yes, following an agile practices is being the best practices, since it gives a clear transparent view to the customers as well, and whatever the things we are working and how these things are going on.
Okay. So you mentioned about the concept or the utility of Scrum and Scrum meetings
Mhm.
and everything. How would you differentiate between the role of a Scrum Master and a project manager?
Yes. So basically, if I say project manager would be mostly focusing on the project part, where it is where we can say about the timelines, or the whole timelines, the complete timeline to complete that project.
Mhm.
And if we are working like on something like a category or a epic on, we are working on that it is his responsibilities, that this epic and the all of the subsets, like the user stories and everything, that has been completed into the stipulated, like whatever the time we have committed to our customers. So it's a broader view. But if I talk about the scrum master role, so it is specifically regarding to the particular so if I say that a scrum master would be particularly focusing on the current activities. Suppose if a particular sprint is going on, so he'll be focused on the timeline and the completion of each and every user stories that has been included into that particular sprints,
Got
a
it.
particular epic.
So can I say that a Scrum Master is more concerned with the micro aspects of the project and a project manager is more concerned with the macro aspects of the project?
Yes, right. That is the whole point now.
Cool. Then the next thing I want to talk to you about is that how do you validate that the delivered solution meets the business needs? See, uh, developing and testing is one thing, but making sure that when you started and now at the end, what has been developed and tested, they are the same. I mean, the development and the testing did not go in some other direction and it is going in the same direction as the requirements. How would you ensure that as a business analyst?
Right. So, in this case, like in this situation, mostly what I would like, because this is an important part which you have asked, since the our goal is to ensure that whatever the requirements we have from the customers and the outcome is needs to be this like needs to be as per their expectation only, right?
Mhm,
So for in like in this situation, like we like if I talk about my current project as well. um what I do from my side, what I'll do is, so whenever we'll be having some kind of requirements needs to be analyzed.
mhm,
So the important part would be to involve all of the stakeholders related to whatever the functionality that we are working upon.
mhm,
So into that, so basically, like this help us uh, to analyze like what are the requirements and what are the things we are developing in, right? So
mhm,
this is not only limited to the stakeholders but also to the technical team. We will have some kind of like a session where both parties will be there, and they being a business analyst, I'll be like what I'll do is I'll be, so whatever the business requirement I can take, and I'll just and I'll just analyze over these things, and like I can segregate those things, that this is the business requirement and this is the technical expectation they are having. So like that I'll be able to explain the technical terms to the technical team as well. So this so because of this, what we like we'll get an clarification, what whatever things we are working upon, right? So this is also like a part where I can ensure that the whatever the scope or the whatever the requirement was there, it is being same as, and it is being uh, the development and everything is going as expected.
got it. Cool. Now, I will ask some questions from the second category, that is communication and stakeholder management. Now, can you give me an example of how you translated business needs into functionalities, or be it Salesforce or SAP or anything for that matter? But how did you translate? So let's say as a client would say the requirements or features in very raw words. Now it's your job as
Right.
a business analyst to translate it into something that the implementation team can understand. So can you give me an
Right.
example of how did you do that?
Sure. So into this current project, what I have been doing is, um, once I have got the requirement, I'll just ensure that whatever the important points which I have taken while having the requirements to be discussed, I'll just put in into some documentation, and on that what I'll do is I'll ensure that we whatever the points I have discussed, that it is been elaborated in such a way that everything whatever the pinpoints that a customer has pointed out, I have elaborated into the documents that it can be understandable by the business as well as the technical team.
Mhm,
And second thing, I would go about the like I'll try to make some visualization. Like suppose I'll try to build some use case or something where and then flow can be explained, or how the work has been carried out through our Salesforce platform, that I can do. And another thing another thing I'll be doing is I'll be having one meeting with the business. So, and just to understand like what the Salesforce platform is, I can give them a short demo about how the features are there, or how the like Salesforce functionality is there. Whatever functionality, like if they find something useful into that, then it is an like an opportunity for me as well, so that they would say that this is the point which we want to include into our project as well, so I can make sure that this has been taken out as well. uh, like that, I can have the requirements to be there.
okay, do you understand the meaning of change management in Salesforce or any other project for that matter? What is change management? Do you understand that?
Yes, I do. Now, like I do understand about this, and this change management is basically a term where into a project specifically related when there is one change or the modification is requested by the business on the existing requirement that has been produced, and or if there is one development or something going on to, onto the current requirement.
Mhm.
So this change management is basically whatever the request of the modification or something is like produced by shared by the customer that has been that has been documented and everything, and based on that we will check the impact of on the current timelines, and we will check about the if we say about the uh, whatever the requirement is there, so we'll just have an overview with the customers, and whatever the prioritization part is we can take into that from the change request that we can include into our current project, and based on that how the impact and how everything is there, we can analyze those things and make like we can add those into the current requirements.
Got it. So, you have a situation, and the situation is that you have been talking to multiple stakeholders in the project, stakeholder number one, two, three, and four. Now, you went on in separate individual calls. In call one, stakeholder one gave a requirement, but at the same time, the other stakeholder, that is, let's say, stakeholder three, gave another requirement which is conflicting with the first one. So, there is a conflict between the two requirements from two different stakeholders. Now, of course, you cannot say no to anyone. How would you handle such a situation?
Sure. So basically, for this situation, like it is very important. We need to understand whatever the requirements that has been shared by both of the stakeholders, and we need to analyze this. Like basically, what techniques we can use is like we can have a we can have a discussion with both of the stakeholders at a single time, and we can see like we will be able to analyze like what are the major impacting part that they are being that they are being uh, informing about that, and what are the other parties saying about that, and based on the I'll try to form a common ground so both of the requirements or something like that can be worked out, and in and also like if there is a situation, and if the requirement if the requirements that have been like making some major changes, or that the timeline is getting staged or something like that, into that situation what I'll do is I'll have a one-on-one with each of the stakeholders, and can showcase and everyone can explain everything to them that this is the if we add these changes into this, and this may extend the timeline or whatever the commitment we have done to complete that particular task, then I'll give like it is basically about educating the customer because of these changes that's these things can might impact to other there would be some dependency like that, and it is in like it is important to ensure like whatever we if we are taking the consideration of both and we have arrived some on a common ground, and into that it is important to include include a documentation of that as well, so whatever the changes or everything which has been uh, requested by both parties that can be converted into those requirements, and will can be logged into the documents, so that it will help to understand.
Okay. Okay. Uh, mm, 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 mm. Okay. Let me ask you another question. And okay, now let me know that how will you ensure data integrates sort of data integrity and accuracy in Salesforce reports and dashboards? That is, how would you ensure that correct data is being displayed in reports and dashboards? As an example, let's say you are working with a client and they want the opportunities to be shown in a particular manner. And they say that we want the reports and dashboards to be created for it, but you know that there might be some bad data in those reports and dashboards. So how would you ensure that the correct data is being displayed in the reports and dashboards? A hint for you would be
Okay.
that you know that, of course, in the reports or in dashboards, or let's talk about reports only, the data is going to be fetched from the records, right? So there is a correlation between the records, and the same records are going to get displayed in the report as well. So how would you ensure the data integrity? That could be a hint for you.
Okay. Mm, I'll just take a minute.
Take your time, no worries. Hmm.
So is this like we are saying about the uh, like about the data integrity, as in like about the duplicates record or something like the that is being
That is
taken
one
into
that
consideration,
is
like
one factor. So I'll tell you. I mean, if you're not able to answer it, do you want me to help you with the answer?
yes, that would be great.
So I'll tell you a very realistic scenario. What happens is that the client might say, okay, I want this data to be there in reports and dashboards, and I want the data integrity to be there. Cool. You say, okay, we can do it. But there are a lot of situations wherein the the Salesforce instance, for example, or the system that the client is using, in that particular situation, they might fill in bad data unknowingly sometimes as well. So you can suggest to the client that if you can have some validations rules, some mandatory fields, some filters or some checks, and you
Okay.
restrict the user from inputting bad data. If there's no bad
Hmm.
data in the particular field or in the particular record, it will not display, of course, in the reports as well. So if you want to
Okay.
have clean data in the reports and dashboard, it is dependent upon how the records are. That talks about the
Hmm.
duplicate point that you mentioned, that there should be no duplicacy, there should be no bad data in the records, and how do you ensure that using the different validations rule there are.
Right. Right. Understood. Got it.
Okay. Then
Okay.
let's talk about the next question. Can you describe me a time wherein you had to explain a complex Salesforce concept or any concept for that matter, not only Salesforce, to a non-technical stakeholder? So your client is completely non-technical, and you want to explain a feature to them. Did you ever do it? If yes, share a situation, share how you did it with an example.
So I remember about one instance where I was able, like where I was in a discussion with one of the stakeholder who was basically was a sales representative, where so basically they are stick to a particular console or the particular what taken the basic flow, they are stick to like they are sticked with that. So into that what I did for to understand or to give an overview of Salesforce, how Salesforce work, what I did is my first approach was to understand the pain point in the existing part, existing process they are working on it. So I understood like whatever the pain points they are having into that, and based upon that, what I did is so it was like directly showing them a Salesforce console wouldn't be a much helpful approach for me. So at that time what I did is I created few use cases, or I created few a few visual diagrams, like where the flow or the use cases that has been uh, just to understand them, that these features will be included into Salesforce, so that with that feature you'll be able to like whatever the expectation they are having, you'll be able to achieve that by using this feature in Salesforce. And once they have got an idea about a rough idea or a something like just an they have understood like this is the expectation and this is the requirement that is being taken care of in Salesforce, then what I will do is I'll just give them a short demo of something, short demo of Salesforce org or the environment, where he'll be that they'll be able to see what are the actual objects, what are the Salesforce in like inbuilt functionalities we have, and I can explain each and every part of that, so that the stakeholder or the person or the non-technical person will be able to communicate with me. Either he'll be having some question, then he'll be reaching out to me again. So each and every I'll trying to like I'll try to speak in a way that it is very user friendly to them and they're able to understand everything. So my approach would be to go as much as non technical with the person as well. So with this approach would that would be the best to handle this kind of situation.
Okay. Can you tell me of a situation or of a use case wherein uh, you feel that a validation rule, implementing a validation rule would be very helpful.
Mhm.
Okay, tell me
Okay.
one thing before that. Someone suggested that have a validation rule on a field, maybe on a pin code field or maybe on a phone number field.
Mhm.
And validation is more around, let's say, if the user does not fill in the value, let's say it's a
Okay.
simple registration form, there's name, email ID, phone number, and everything. And the validation was that if the user does not fill in the name or the email ID and so on, then you show validation rules or validation errors. Do you think it's a good idea to put validations at that point?
Can you rephrase it again?
Okay.
I may have misheard something, I believe.
There is a registration form. There are four, five:
Okay.
name, email ID, phone, uh, pin code, and so on, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Okay.
the situation is that the client says that I want every field to be populated.
Okay.
Now, I have a question for you that you are suggesting that let's have a validation rule put for every field. Is it a good idea, or can there be a better way to implement this?
So basically, instead of validation rules, since this, what my personal approach would be, this wouldn't be the best practice to handle the validation rules, because a validation rule is like, it's a powerful tool which can be used for this other for the other complex or some other criteria as well, not on the fields where it should be make them as mandate. Instead of that, we have the page layout, where we have the page layout option. Into that we can make one field mandatory, as well as while creating the field or something, we are able to put some like the requirement, make it as a required field.
Mhm.
So that would be the best approach to do by this two option, not using validation rule for
So,
this particular
could
scenario.
be what could be a good use case for a validation rule then?
Okay. Okay. So suppose there are I'm so so there are two fields. I just have a rough idea. I'm able, like, I'll be able to imagine right now. So suppose there are two fields which are like interdependent to which are dependent to each other, and based on their calculation or this functionality or formulation, there will be an output that would be showed into the third field, right? So into this part where I'll be using validation rule, so to mandate all these two records that needs to be filled up. Because of that only the third field would populate the answer, like that.
Okay, so I have a question. There is a situation wherein you have to upload the documents. And when you upload the documents, if the file is not of PNG or JPEG format, the user should not be allowed to upload it. Can a validation rule be used here?
Yes, we can use validation rule into this condition.
Validation rule here.
Sorry.
How can we use the validation rule here?
Like we can show an message. Okay, if the part is related to the uploads, right? Okay.
Yes, a
Mm,
validation rule can be used here. And if, let's say, if the user inputs a format of, let's say, PDF or MDI or anything of that format, and when they click on the submit button, there will be a validation error triggered which says that the user is only allowed to input files in the format of .png or .jpg.
okay, understood. Got
Good,
it. Thank you.
good. So I think I am good. I don't have any questions as such. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do have few questions.
Mhm.
Like so basically my first question would be to if I say, if we are going to progress further, and how would be the initial 30 days or 60 days, what kind of training and everything that you'd provide, or some kind of material, training material or something, so
Well,
that will be
so
helpful for me to
you're
get
an
into this role.
experienced person. There will be no training per se. Training is more for
Mm-hmm.
the freshers or someone like who is just new to the domain. There will
Mm-hmm.
be some material shared with you. There will be some checklist that will be shared with you, but that's a separate story.
Right. Okay, understood.
Anything else?
Yeah. Um, then I think that would be all for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay, I think it was a good experience connecting with you, and I hope that all the improvements that we have talked about or all the questions that we have talked about, you go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
revise them, and improve them. So,
Sure.
and for the viewers, of course, I hope that this video is helpful to you. These mock series are good for you. We are going to come up with a lot more mock series around BA, QA, Dev, and so on. So stay tuned. Also, we are right now in the process of forming new batches for live training on BA, QA, and automation. So if you're interested, please comment below, and we'll read. Right? Okay. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next videos. Thank you.